Okay, so, disclaimer. We're gonna be RNG manipulating a shiny Pokemon today, and that's cool, but you should know that this video is going to be more about how the process is done and why it works. And while I do explain the process, this isn't a guide. So if you click this video expecting a guide, sorry. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tech Rules Bits. I know it's not been very long since the last Tech Rules Bits, but this is actually a follow-up to the last video I did, the one about RNG. In that one I asked if you wanted to see a live stream of me putting this information to use to catch some shiny Pokemon. And there was some feedback, but in the end I decided not to do that. As I was kind of putting the pieces together on how I wanted to do the stream, I realized there's a lot of things that need to be explained for it, especially for someone who, say, doesn't know how shiny Pokemon are decided from a technical standpoint, which I would imagine is most people. So instead, we're gonna do a quick video on it. Well, hopefully quick. In this way, I can not only explain what I'm doing better, but I can take it a step further and actually give you some in-depth information about it. There's a lot of interesting things about this process, and I really want to, have the chance to talk about it. A lot of the things we're going to talk about in this video is going to use information from the RNG video, by the way. So if you find yourself confused at any point, I recommend watching that one to get a better idea of what we're doing. Or don't, if you don't want to, it's probably fine. Feels like I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time anyway. Either way, the goal of this video is very simple. To catch a shiny Pokemon without modifying the game or the system running the game in any way. The only things we're allowed to use are the information we can salvage from the data the game gives us, meaning things it stores in removable storage, and pure RNG manipulation. And the game I've decided to use for that is Pokemon Ultra Moon, a 7th generation Pokemon game on real 3DS hardware. Unfortunately, playing it on a real 3DS means it's going to look like this. Yeah, what you're looking at is a combination of Wi-Fi video streaming and the relatively low internal resolution of the 3DS, but I still feel it's important to use a 3DS instead of just an emulator for the sake of legitimacy. You know, the sake of confirming that this works on any old 3DS lying around. I mean, you could argue that since I'm using custom firmware to capture the 3DS screen, I'm already compromising the legitimacy of it, but shut up. And also, the screen will look better when we actually get into a fight. It's just zoomed out areas like these that look this bad. Even if we were using a capture card, it wouldn't look much different. Okay, I won't lie, it would look a little better. Not much, but things would look a little more, I don't know, human. And yeah, I know, Pokemon Sword and Shield is a thing. Why don't you use Pokemon Sword and Shield? That's what I'm playing right now. Show me how to do it for that. I don't want to. For 4 or, well, let's say 5 specific reasons. 1, Sword and Shield doesn't have the national dex, whereas with Sun and Moon, there's a way to manipulate a shiny out of basically any Pokemon. 2, while you can safely say that this game has reached its end of life, so to speak, Sword and Shield are still getting updates, and any methods I show you could easily be patched out, since they're still updating the game. 3, and this one's kind of a big one, Nintendo absolutely terrifies me when it comes to making videos on their more recent games. They've made it explicitly clear they don't particularly like creators like me and want their newest games as far away from us as possible. That's why I'm refusing to even use any Sword and Shield footage. I'm not convinced that they don't have some sort of auto-matching system to take down Switch hacking videos. It's the same reason I didn't talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses when that game came out. I didn't want to give them a good reason to take down a video, and then a month's effort is just wasted. 4, I'm not even certain there's a legit way to manipulate RNG in Sword and Shield just yet. Well, it depends on what you define as legit. There's a way to manipulate it, but I think you still need data that you can only get from either using custom firmware or getting help from someone else who has custom firmware. 5, I don't remember what 5 was, and 5 seems like an excessive amount of points anyway, so let's just move on. As far as which shiny Pokemon we're gonna go for, I figured since we're doing this in the Alola region, I should probably pick a Pokemon with an Alolan variant, get something that's exclusive to this series. And, Dugtrio. No question, Dugtrio. I don't even have to think about it. Alolan Dugtrio is downright majestic. So that's what we're going with. So our goal for this video is to catch a shiny Dugtrio. Let me go over what stars need to align, so to speak, in order to make a shiny Pokemon appear. But first, I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I know I've already talked about Skillshare a few times on my channel, but in my defense, it's an excellent resource. It's hard sometimes to try and pick up new things because, if you're anything like me, things are kind of busy and hectic all the time. So it's wonderful that Skillshare can help me learn from the professionals in the subjects I'm interested in at my pace at any time I want. Or maybe even not interested in. There have been a few times where I'm just browsing the classes and see something that I've never tried before, for, and I can decide then and there, this is something I want to try. For example, this class. Creative Nonfiction. Write truth with style. Since the whole point of Tech Rules is to explain very technical things in a simple but interesting way, this course ended up being right up my alley, and I recommend it for anyone that wants to add some flair and style in their explanations or writings. And, of course, it's all available to you at an extremely affordable price. Less than $10 a month for a membership. Not to mention, Skillshare is giving away another 2 free months of premium membership to the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description below. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. You have nothing to lose and a lot to gain, so give Skillshare a try today. Anyway, on to the explanation. Alright, so I guess the best place to start would be explaining how shinies work. A good portion of this video is probably going to be sheer explanation and exposition, by the way, so feel free to skip to the timestamp if you're not into that. I would still really recommend listening if you're not familiar with the stuff though, because otherwise you're going to be pretty confused about what we're doing. And even if you think you know how this stuff works, I recommend you watch anyway, because I don't know, please. Shiny Pokemon are simply extremely rare variants of already existing Pokemon, usually with a different color and like a little extra animation when they're called into battle. The chances of any given Pokemon being shiny used to be around 1 in 8,000, but I think from X and Y onward they changed that to around 1 in 4,000. That definitely makes our job easier, but that's still approximately a 0.025% chance of finding one. But obviously we don't have time for that. Let's just exploit the game's mechanics and force it to give us a shiny. So what do we need to know to do that? Well, let's start with the easiest method, which would be through eggs. The thing that you need to know about eggs and Pokemon in general is that whether or not they'll be shiny depends entirely on the trainer hatching them. In other words, a Pokemon encounter that would yield a shiny for one person would not yield a shiny for another one, because it's based off of some hidden values exclusive to the trainer. This is where the whole secret ID thing comes in. Eggs are special though, because instead of the shininess of the Pokemon being decided during the encounter, an egg will only run the shiny check when it's hatched. That means if you were to trade the egg to a trainer with the correct hidden values and let them hatch it for you, that Pokemon will be shiny. And that brings us to the most important question. What are these hidden values, and how can we use them to essentially solve Pokemon shininess? It's trickier than you may think. This part we're going to talk about in particular is why I wanted a lot of people not to skip the explanation, even if they think they already understand how it works. A lot of people seem to think that there's a value stored in the game called a trainer shiny value, okay? And Pokemon have a hidden value called the Pokemon shiny value, and if those two numbers are identical, then the Pokemon is shiny. That would have made things much easier in the past if that was the case, but unfortunately it's not. If you knew that, awesome. But if you thought it was the shiny value thing, you're not really at fault for thinking that either, because that's how we choose to express the algorithm that decides whether or not a Pokemon is shiny. Actually, hang on, that was a very confusing sentence. Here, let me explain it this way. Every Pokemon you're going to encounter is going to have a unique Pokemon ID, which is the final missing piece for this algorithm. Let me just read it off to you, I actually have it written down here. What the game will do is take your trainer ID, your real trainer ID I should mention, which is confusingly different from the trainer ID you see in the game, and will do an exclusive OR operation with it and the trainer's secret ID, which the game goes out of its way not to tell you. Exclusive OR, simply put, means you're going to compare the numbers in binary form and look for differences. Different means 1, same means 0. Then you're going to take the result of that operation and do another exclusive OR with the highest 16 bits of the Pokemon ID, meaning we're going to convert that to binary and use the first half. Then we take that number and do an exclusive OR with the remaining 16 bits, and if the number is lower than 16, then that Pokemon is shiny. If it's not, well, it's not. And that's the algorithm. Simple, right? No, it's not. I mean, if you're a programmer who has experience with this stuff, I guess, yeah, it's simple. But the average Pokemon player is not going to be interested in learning how to do this. In fact, looking at the algorithm, I just realized there's quite a bit to unpack here, and I'm not sure where to start. I guess I'll start by saying the biggest issue with this algorithm is that it makes it really hard to know what the Pokemon ID would have to be to make it shiny. Because, you know, even if you were to know your trainer ID and secret ID, you would still have to essentially plug in different Pokemon IDs until you find the one that would lead to a shiny. And that goes for the other way around too. Even if you know the ID of your egg, how in the world are you going to find a trainer to hatch it for you that has the exact IDs you need? On that note, what would even be the exact IDs you need? How would you figure that out? You get the idea. It's really hard to work with an algorithm like this, which is why there needed to be a simpler way to express it, one that didn't require you to combine all your information with the Pokemon's information to even know what will be shiny and what won't. And that's where this trainer shiny value comes in. It's just a made-up algorithm. The game doesn't use it, but we use it to help us understand what will be shiny and what won't. Here's how it works. We do the first half of the algorithm, meaning we take our trainer ID and our secret ID, do the exclusive OR operation, but instead of doing the rest of the algorithm, we just do a bit shift right by 4. That literally just means we're going to take the last 4 bits off our number, convert that back to decimal, and there you go, your trainer shiny value. What do you do with this number? You compare it to the Pokemon shiny value, which you get by doing the exact same thing with the Pokemon half of the algorithm. Just take the result and remove the last 4 bits. If the trainer shiny value and the Pokemon shiny value match, then that Pokemon will be shiny. Simple as that. And even if you don't necessarily understand that, that's fine. A program can easily tell you what your shiny value is if you just punch your numbers into it. There's like 1,000 that'll do that too. It's not hard to find one. That goes for both the trainer and Pokemon shiny values. With that in mind, let's go back to our egg hatching method. If we can just find out what the ID of the Pokemon is, then we do the algorithm and boom, we have its shiny value. Now all you need to do is find someone with a matching trainer shiny value and ask them to hatch the Pokemon for you. Which is a thing that people actually do. There are huge communities of people who post the shiny values of their eggs, and if a trainer sees an egg on the list that matches their shiny value, they'll hatch the Pokemon for them. The only thing that you have to do is post your egg's shiny value and wait. But we're not doing that method. Yeah, it's easy, but it involves waiting and just hoping that someone with the right values comes your way. And I don't know if I've already made this clear or not, I want my shiny Dugtrio now. So instead, we're gonna use some good old-fashioned RNG manipulation. So with that absolute mountain of knowledge in our possession, we can finally begin. This is a new save file, well, not new, it's based off of a completed save file I got off of PokemonProject.org, but the trainer data has been completely re-rolled, so I have no idea what any of my hidden values are. That means our first step will be to find our trainer shiny value, which I'll just shorten to TSV from here on because I'm tired of saying it. If you remember, we need our real trainer ID and our secret ID to do so, and we already established that the game doesn't want to give us one of these, and the other is weird. Thankfully, you know who does know those IDs? Our Pokemon. See, they have to retain those values in their data so they can tell who their owner is. So we just have to get it out of them. And I realize now that it sounds like I'm proposing some sort of Pokemon interrogation torture scenario, and I regret phrasing it that way. But we can't live in the past, so moving on. Luckily for me, I own a digital copy of the game, so extracting these values is as simple as doing a specific process in the game and copying the resulting saves to my PC. That process is emptying out my first 2 boxes, catching 6 Pokemon, putting them in the first box, saving, resetting the game, saving again, backing up that file to the PC, moving the 6 Pokemon from box 1 to box 2, making sure to retain the original order by the way, saving yet again, and backing up the new save file to the PC as well. From here, all I have to do is plug these 2 saves into a program called KeySave, and it'll brute force a key which will allow me to view the hidden data of the Pokemon I put in the box. Now, if I had a retail version instead, it would have been fine, but instead of just using my save file, I would have had to use a battle video against another trainer. A little more inconvenient, but still completely doable. And with that out of the way, it's time to catch that shiny Dugtrio. You can hear me rubbing my hands together maniacally in that sentence. Obviously, the first step will be to go someplace a Dugtrio can actually appear, so we're gonna head to the vast Pony Canyon. And on our way there, I guess I'll go ahead and explain the process. So, in the RNG video, I demonstrated how to use user input to manipulate Gen 1's RNG and give us the exact same seeds every time. Essentially, we could do extremely specific actions at extremely specific times so that we always get the perfect RNG seed that does exactly what we want. Well, I guess more accurately, we can predict exactly what it will do. Unfortunately, Sun and Moon base pretty much all of their RNG off an initial seed that they pull when the game starts up, completely independent from player input. In other words, manipulating that initial seed is going to be practically impossible. And besides that, since the game's RNG is based on a timer that... Did I mention that? No, I didn't. Okay, so this game has a timer, and that timer gets changed by literally anything going on in the game. NPCs messes with it. Animations messes with it. It's a pain, but we'll get to that. Essentially though, we need a way to determine the RNG without starting the timer. Remember the clock hands from the last video? Yep, that's what we're gonna use. If you didn't watch that video, long story short is we can use these clock hands to determine the initial RNG seed, which is fantastic, because going from the main menu to file select only advances the timer by 1 frame. If these clock hands didn't exist, I have no idea how we would do this process. But aside from that 1 frame, the timer won't advance at all until the file is actually loaded. So we can do this as many times as we want, so we know exactly what position the timer is. We'll just have to remember, you know, every time we back out and go back in, that's 1 frame advancement. But the process is so much easier than it sounds, I promise. We just observe the clock hands a bunch of times and put the results into something called the 3DS RNG tool, which is easily the most impressive program I've ever seen as far as RNG manipulation is concerned. Not only is it able to accurately predict this game's RNG to a T, but it also considers the various factors that could cause the game's timer to fluctuate. There was a lot of love and care put into this thing, and it kind of blows me away, honestly. Okay, this is the area that Dugtrio appears in. I need to stand in a very specific way to cause the least amount of NPC interference as possible. Thankfully, there's a post on a forum called PokeRNG that shows exactly what the best spots are. Granted, it's for the original Sun and Moon, so there are some differences here and there, but otherwise, it'll work. Okay, let's boot up 3DS RNG tool and put in our shiny value. Now, I do have a shiny charm, so I'm gonna check this box, but just know it's not required. I'm just using it to speed up this process a bit. Okay, so let's save, reset, and now it's clock hand time. I am terrible at this, so I'm just gonna pull out my phone and record the screen. Also, I'm aware that I'm already capturing the screen for the video, but I don't trust that capture not to lose frames from time to time. And I kinda need to make 0 mistakes with this. If I do make a mistake, I have to reset and start the entire process over again. Let's just get 9 clock hands. That seems to be the max we'll need. Okay, now that I have the recording, we're gonna do start position, and I'm gonna click the picture that corresponds to the first frame of every clock hand I recorded. So that's a 15, that's a 2, and there's our seed. Now, if we look in our main window, we can see that our initial seed has already been inserted by the tool, which is nice. So now all we need to do is put in where we are and which Pokemon we're trying to catch. And, of course, we want it shiny, so we're going to check the shiny only box. Once we do this, the tool is going to calculate which Pokemon I'll get for every single frame I can start an encounter on and show me which frame I need to find a Dugtrio with the same PSV as my TSV. Or, in other words, a Dugtrio whose shiny values match my shiny values. Oh, there's actually a frame where I can get one 9 seconds after we start. That one's gonna rush me a little bit, but I don't want to wait 9 minutes, which is what the next frame's gonna be. So let's go with this one. Now we switch over to our time calculator, which is, again, conveniently autofilled by the tool, and we'll get the final piece of information we need. In this case, it looks like we'll be setting our Eon timer for 540 frames. What's Eon timer? Well, it's this convenient tool over here that can simulate the game's timer to a pretty accurate degree. We just need to put our time into this field and start the timer at the same time we load the save file. So, here we go. Okay, so wait, 9 seconds doesn't give me enough time to explain what I'm doing at all. hang on. Okay, it's fine. I missed that frame entirely. Okay, sorry, I didn't really think that one through. What I was trying to do is open my bag on the exact frame I was targeting and use the honey to force the Pokemon encounter. But you saw that I messed it up, so I get to reset the game again and do the hands thing all over again. Alright, give me a sec. Okay, our new initial seed. Let's search again. Whoa, that's a lot of shiny Dugtrios. Also, you might have noticed some of these frames are marked. Essentially, the timer is so sensitive that a character can blink and the timer will freeze momentarily, meaning it's going to be really hard to hit any frames shortly after a character blinks. But that also means that frames where a character blinks are really easy to hit, so that's why those are starred. We want to go after those if they're not out of our way, but otherwise we should just aim for safe frames. This one's 11 minutes away, but it's also next to other frames that'll give us the Pokemon we want, so I'll go with that. 7:13, okay. 7:13. And now we wait. By the way, we want to wait with the menu. What? Beep? Why beep? Hang on. Why did I put in 713 frames? That's very clearly nowhere near 11 minutes. Okay, sorry, I got tunnel vision while explaining. I'm an idiot. Clock time. I just want you all to know that it takes like 5 minutes to do these clock hands every single time. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 5 minutes per mistake. It adds up. Okay, this one. Okay, now that the timer is actually set up properly, I can point out that I need to open up the menu pretty soon after starting up the game and keep it like that until it's time to hit the target frame. Doing so stops your character from doing its idle animation, which, you guessed it, messes with the timer. Once we open this bag though, the timer will stop, so we can take our time actually finding and selecting the honey once we hit our target frame. But as you can see, this process involves a lot of waiting, so I guess I'll get back to you when it's time to hit the frame. Hey, welcome back. Target frame's coming up, so I just have to hope I'm able to hit this exact frame. A few frames off and it won't work. Thankfully, this timer's about to start assisting me by doing some rhythmic beeping, which actually really helps me out. So, fingers crossed. Hey, that felt kinda close. Let's see what we get. Okay, you are not a shiny Dugtrio. In fact, you're not a Dugtrio at all. That means we have to try again. But before that, I still want to catch this card bank and check something. See, while we didn't hit the frame exactly, I still want to examine this Pokemon and find out what frame we did land on. That way we can adjust accordingly. Okay, so let's plug these stats in as search parameters and see if we can locate this Pokemon in our RNG list. Okay, found it. These are the 2 frames I potentially could have landed on. So I was either 4 frames early or 10 frames early. I'm hoping it's the 4 frame one. That would mean I'm at least hitting within the margin of error, which has to do with timer fluctuations and just human error itself. But if I was 10 entire frames off, then some adjustment is definitely going to need to be done. I guess we won't find out until we try again. You know the drill by now, so I'll just start skipping to the relevant parts. Okay, this one's rough. Those question marks mean a blink frame is going to happen shortly before them, meaning it may be impossible to hit them. Guess I'll go for the only safe one. That one was good, that one was good. That has to be within the 4 frames. Golbat? Okay. Let's see which frame this thing belongs to. Whoa, okay, that's way off. So, I seem to be consistently hitting 10 frames or so earlier than what I'm intending to. That can be for a lot of reasons, like load times or NPC interference, but at the very least, it's consistent. The error margin I'm allowing myself is 4 frames off in each direction, so if I just aim 10 frames ahead of my actual target frame, I should start hitting within my error margin, so let's do that. Okay, here's a nice set of frames to use. I'm gonna go with the latest one, since I seem to be hitting early pretty consistently. Remember, I need to factor in my calibration, so instead of aiming for frame 17502, we're instead gonna aim for 17512. 12. People call that 12. Eon Timer actually has a feature that's supposed to make these adjustments for you, but I can't figure out how it works. It seems whatever number I put in just gives the same irrelevant result. It's fine, I'll just set my target frame to the 110 frames ahead. It's literally just as easy. Nice! Okay, I got a good feeling about this one. Show me the shiny. Excuse me? Okay, that's a shiny Golbat. Okay, hang on, the battle can wait. I need to find exactly where in my target frame a shiny Golbat exists. 2 frames after my target frame was a shiny Golbat. Maybe this is a side effect of the shiny charm? I don't know. Like, maybe it just makes a cluster of frames shiny frames, and that's how the charm increases your chances? Whatever, I guess it's not important. The important part is that I hit 2 frames late. I'm keeping this one though. I only brought 1 container of honey, so I'll have to go back to the Pokemon Center to get some more, but I am not resetting a shiny Golbat. So, give me a sec. Okay, I'm back in my spot with another container of honey. Let's save, and keep going. Since we were only 2 frames off, it looks like we're hitting exactly in the range we need to. It should hopefully only take a few more attempts, and we'll see our shiny Dugtrio. Yes! Okay, come on. Please. Yes! Okay, we got it. Okay, hi, welcome back. Shiny Dugtrio. Let's catch it. Select the quick ball. And with that, our shiny Dugtrio is... What? No! Okay, no, this is fine. Not sure why I'm panicking. It's actually fine. Let's just throw another one. Okay, are we cool now? Ah! Does the quick ball not work if you throw another? Of course it doesn't. Why would it work like that? Ugh! Great ball then. Yeah, go on. Break out of that. Stop! No, it was a taunt. I didn't mean it. Okay, you know what? No risks. No risks. I did not let RNG come into play this far. I'm not gonna let it come into play here. I'd like to see you break out of that. Please don't, actually. I didn't mean that. I only have 1 Master Ball. Okay. Well, that was a bit more dramatic than it needed to be, but Shiny Dugtrio has been caught. Let's take it back to the Pokemon Center, and I'll wrap up the video. So, I'm looking at my timer, and it looks like the entire process took around 2.5 hours, which, for something as unlikely as finding a shiny variant of the exact Pokemon you want, is pretty good. On the subject of the shinies, I did want to keep the shiny Dugtrio, but the shiny Golbat, I mean, I like how it looks, but I think it'd be more fun if I gave it away. What do you all think? Do you want the shiny Golbat? Its nature is gentle, which, not amazing for a Golbat, but if you just want a shiny, you can have it. Tell you what. Sword and Shield is going to add Golbat in one of their DLC updates, I'm pretty sure. If you own Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield, then I encourage you to join in the giveaway that I hopefully remembered to make before the video goes live in the description below. I'll connect it with Twitter and DM you if you win, and when that update releases, the shiny Golbat is yours. As for the rest of you, I hope this was an interesting watch in some way, and I hope you keep an eye out for more tech rules.